Rashash, as we're gonna probably finish up today. It's like the directions that he's given is. Whoops, that wouldn't take long. Whoa. Okay, let's stop this. It comes back here again. Okay, so I think that some of the movement that he described yesterday were on page Ayin Aleph. If you have the same one, it says Yachzer Kol Dalet Tzitzios L'Acharav. So the first thing we're doing is we're just taking the right side tzitzis, the two sets, and we're throwing them over our left shoulder. Then he comes over here, and we saw a bunch of kavanos there, which we could go over, Mitzvah Shem. And now he says, Yachzer Kol Daled Tzitzios L'Acharav. That's where we're kind of in the middle of this here. And we're very close to the end, because I think we're in the next page, we're going to get to another flow chart, so we could pick that up. So it's just starting from the top. He says, Kotza dis Arida Erik Anpen. So this is the idea here. Is that the bundles of hair that come off the head of Erik Anpen, and he says here we're calling it the Kutza dis Ari. The Erik Anpen, Achre Resha de Zer Anpen, along to over the back of Zer Anpen, back of the head of Zer Anpen. Umaka ba'arfo, and strike his neck. Now this sounds like it's like on a very high up, because it says it's you're putting around the head. He didn't say around the shoulders. He said you put it around the head. Umaka ba'arfo, and you strike there the back of the neck. Magala ha'aras ha'mochin dezer anpin, and as a result of this, that taking the hairs, these hairs are full of the light of whiteness. It causes a whole bunch of things really to happen inside of Zer Anpin. One of them I know is the creation of the 13th, the extra 4 tikkunim of his dikna. But here also we have the this coming over ba'arfim b'gala ha'aras ha'mochin Zer Anpin, and it causes the mochin to be revealed. V'laham shekutza desa'ari de Zer Anpin, and so that produces the hair on the top. I guess the hair on the top of Zer Anpin. I think that we understand that the hair is or chozer. It comes up from the head, or here in this case, of the back of the neck, and the mochin that are inside of the head comes out onto the head of Zer Anpin and flows down his backside, where it reaches ba'achre reisha the nook, and it winds up going in the same process to the head, to the back of the head of the nook. Umaka ba'arpa strikes her neck. Umotzi ha'aras ha'mochin the law, and as a result of that, her mochin also come out, and what you're talking about is a higher level, bringing out the lower level. V'yachzer tzitzios lefonav. So I'm thinking that for the direction of what to do, and we've probably seen this in the Sephardi shuls, where you're taking the first time, what we said was you take the two tzitzis from the right side and throw them over your shoulders, over towards the back of the nook. We can look at that direction again. And then over here it says that you're taking all of the tzitzis and putting them around your neck. Or he says, Kutza dis ari de Erik Anpin, Achre Reisha de Zer Anpin, Mamaka ba'arpo, and strike the back of the neck. That's what he's saying. So this is actually an accent, I forgot what I was saying. So it's let's go on. And after you've done that, then you should look at the tzitzis. What happens when you're looking at the tzitzis? In other words, your eyes are looking at it. He's going to go through that. So this is the kavanah, that as you're looking at the tzitzis, you should have in mind that you're actually, it's the same thing as bringing down, this is your kavanah, to bring down the illumination, or the radiance that's coming from Erik Anpin, that's coming from the face of Erik Anpin, which is beautiful, beautiful whiteness, El Panei Zer Anpin, to the face of Zer Anpin. B'nei Zer Anpin El Panei Nuk. So he says that this is one looking at the next, at the next, at the next. V'laham shek ha'aras aynin de Zer Anpin, and also to extend down the illumination, or the radiance that's coming from the eyes of Zer Anpin, the base aynin de Nuk kadisha de Zer Anpin, and the whole idea is to bring all of that down. Now he gives us a pictorial view of that, and he shows you several different ways in which we get to the number I, to the concept of I. So the right I, which is ayin, is the gematria 130, and it could be arrived at going through the revuah of ma, of revuah of havaya de alafim, and that's the same thing on the left eye. So the two eyes represent. So like the revuah is always the backside, something like that is always the extension into someplace else. So we're extending and looking at the tzitzis. And then we said here's another way of looking at it. Within that is the same thing. All of these are the same. Is that 5 havayos, which represent the hey chasadim, they also come to the gematria of 130. And the hey gavuros, which are also there, they also come to the gematria 130. Now he says, Kam Yakavin the Milu Ikone. So you say, why? Because it's also the same gematria, cow. And so this is the origin, I guess, of or looking at it, is the which is being transferred as a result of this looking at it, Eric Anpin to Zer Anpin to the Nuk to Zer Anpin, is ultimately to say why it is that the das of the Nuk is kal, is Noshim Daitin Kalos. So she's getting all of this kal from up above. Now, this is where we left off the last time. It says, the nai, the chitzoni is the yitzira. So let's just understand, it's the outside of olam ha-yitzira. He says, what the problem is that at the bottom of olam ha-yitzira, lahafrid akalim akalim, the nai, the chitzoni is the yitzira. So the idea is what we're going to bring here is these oros that we're describing down below, is what we're going to see. He's just going to take them from the kalim of the nai, the kitzonis, in order to separate the kali that's there. And now we're going to see these mochim that have come over to this area, which is the nai, the lowest part of olam yitzira. Mochim the zivug the chiyus olamos in the ramchi the nefesh the ruach. Now this mochim the chiyus olamos, I think it has a special meaning because then we always say that from the yichud of Abba Ve'ima there are two different kinds of lights or mochim that are generated. Okay, wait for that. I just a little bit rusty on this, because he calls it the kius olomos, since this is the life force, and I thought this comes automatically as a result of the yichud of Abba Ve'ima, something like that. There's another yichud also, which is a higher level, I think, too, but he calls it the kius olomos. So in other words, the life force he's bringing down, together with the oros, which is the neranchi, okay, which is all of the lights of nefesh, of the nefesh aspect of the neranchi of ruach. So nefesh really refers to the lower level. That would be the nai. And the ruach refers to olam yitzira. So it's the nefesh, the ruach. And here they are, which is a pictorial demonstration of the lights, the makif, which is the akias, and the panimi, which is the chavayas, but they're all menukad with the nekudos of the nai. Then after that, this is where we actually stopped. It is Zer Anpin, the Hitzonius, the Osiyah. So he says this, so this is coming from the Zer Anpin there. And we're talking now about the Osiyah aspect of the Hitzonius, of Zah. So he says, in order to be able to separate the Kali, Mekalim, the Kachbad Chagat, which is the upper 6 spheros, of the kitzonis, the tzonis, the siya, because first we were working with the nai of Yetzira. The nai of Yetzira falls down to the chabad chagat of Asiya. So the kitzoni is the chasiya. The lacham shekpechem mochim, and in order to bring down to them mochim bezivug the kiyus olamos, to bring them the mochim of kiyus olamos again. In the Rantki, the nefesh, and this time it's going to be now once again why he brings all of this, but he says that's what it is, all of the lights of all of the lights. So every one of the Rantki is a Rantki. I guess that's what he means. It's a very big set of lights, and they are the Rantki, the nefesh, which represents, of course, the Nuk. So he says, let's look at them, and he has the kudos of the Kesser, which I guess he means that refers to he called it the Chabad. Let's see, Hakali, Mekalim, the Chabad, the Gitzoni, the Sia, the Ham Shebechem, B'mochem, the Zivug, the Kiyos, this is the Zivug, the Kiyos, the Lamos, this is the Kiyos of the Lamos, and these are the Oros. So the Oros of Kesser, Chochma, Bina, Das is doubled, they're all the, etc., they're always split. And then coming down to Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferes. So these 6 are going down to the top 6 of the Nukva, and to separate the Klipa from that place. Now, what is he saying about why doesn't he have something in here about the lower part? I don't know. So let's go on, and now we're going to get to this flow chart. And it says, so it said, so now we have this, we've done the mitzvahs. We did it, so according to this, is that again, you're pulling the right side tzitzis over your left shoulder for the nukva, then you're actually wrapping around your neck, this way it sounds like twice, up above. To bring it down further. Yekavin lahamshech mochim pnimim de chochmos ubinos uvok umalchios the tzadi the tzalmei hamochim. So what are we doing? We're talking about the kavana here. Is to bring down this what is he called the tzadi the tzalim. This is actually what's going to go in to, I don't know, to Zer Anpin or the Nook, or these are the ideas. And let's see what he says. The tzadi of the tzadi of the tzalme, which is in plural, hamochin the abba ve'ima v'yasos im the ranchi the ruach shebahem, together with the lights of a ruach. So ruach refers to Zer Anpin. I'm not sure exactly what he said. I'll just read it again. So you say, by doing the mitzvah of tzitzis, the idea is that you're going to stream down mochim panimium, the chochmos ubinus, uvok, the malchios, the tzaddik, the tzalmis. So the idea is you're going to bring all of these mochim and oros, these are picture of the oros, down into the, well, I guess where the tzaddik, the tzalmi, tzalmi mochim, the abba ve'ima v'yasos, im the ramki, the ruach shebechem. So I guess it's going into the nook for all of this is the whole process. Okay, so here it is. Chachmos the tzadi, the tzadi, the abba ve'ima v'yasos. So these are the chachmos. So once again, to understand of the tzadi, that's the part that's going into Zer Anpin, and we're only talking about the chachmos. So why is the chachmos? So we'll just see. This is what he says is actually going to be the pour from chachma. And it shows you Keser, Chochma, Bina, Das, and then it goes Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, and then it has Netzach, Hod, Yesod, all of those lights. It pulls down all of the Chochma. So these are the Mochin of the Chochma, these are the Oros that are coming from the Mochin of Chochma, and then we have the Mochin, the Bina. So then you say the same thing, those are the same Mochins, the top Mochins is the Kachbad, Chagat, Nai, all of these lights that are coming from there. Moving to the next page, then you're going to have the Vok. So that was the Chesed Gevurah, and now the Tiferes of the Tzadi, the Abba Ve'ima V'yasos. So we have to understand that the Tzadi was, because we've seen this is all parts of the Tzadi here, right? So the Tzadi has also the way that he does it. This is that we had the idea that the tzadi represents that part of the tzelem that actually goes into Zer Anpin, or goes into the nook, I guess. Here he's calling it the vok of the tzadi, meaning here he's looking at it as if the tzadi has 10 spheros. So he says that the vok of the tzadi. So we did the chochmah of the tzadi, we did the bina of the tzadi, and now we're bringing out the vok of the tzadi, the abba ve'ima v'yasos, and then we see all the same things. And then you're bringing it down so you brought down the vok of the tzadi, and now you're going to go to chochmah bina, and you're going to go to the vok, and then you're going to go to the nook, and these are the malchios of the tzadi. They're also going to of yasot. They're all going to come down here, and he says, and where is it going? All of these things, it's the same flow chart. It's going to the nai, the ma'u ben the partsufi, both I guess to the original, the part that you're misukin, which is the ben, and the part which is doing the tikkuning is the ma. So he said lanai the ma'u ben the partsufi, and where are we bringing it? Where it's ultimately going to? The kachba the rabbiya the za is going to the top of the bia the za the rabbiya. So it's again. Let's read again. The kachba, the top part of the Abiyah Dizah, so all of the Olamos of Zer Anpin. So once again, he's saying that the Zer Anpin has within it an Atzilus, a Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. It has all of those. The Rabbi, and what Zer Anpin, what part of that is? The Rabbiya, the Kitzonis, the Atzilus. So he says, let me see the first part. It's going to what? It's going to, let's read it backwards, the Atzilus, the Kitzonis. It's the Atzilus of the Kitzonis of Abiyah de Abiyah. That's a really hard idea, because why? Because he says of Itzilus. So he says, we're going to read it one more time, see if I can understand it better. He says, L'nai de ma'u ben de partzufi kachbat. So these are the partzufs at the top of all the olamos of Zer Anpin, and those olamos of Zer Anpin are the olamos of the Chitzonius of Itzilus. So it's a very abstract place, a very far away place. I think I missed some of that at the bottom. Sorry. Here's a Kachba, the Rabbiya, the Zah, the Abiyah, the Abiyah, the Itzonius. That's where it is. How much more time do we have?
3 minutes.
Let's make a quick review of this, and then we can pick up the Sifra Tzniut on the back end. So the Kavanas of the Talus was the thing that I'm focusing on, and he gave us a direction of about taking the right side Talasim, the right side Tzitzit, and throwing over the shoulder. Is if the Hamshik Mekochav, the Chagat, the Chub, the Nai, the Yasas. So it's coming from the Chub of the Nai, the Yasas. Once again, it's the top part of the parts of which is called the Nai, of the parts of which is called Yasas. So a lot to do there, and that is what are you taking? What are you bringing down for them? You're bringing down to the kochbat of the chagat of that parts of the chub, the nai, the yasas. Very, very abstract. Let's say place is the origin of all of these oros, and then we bring all of those oros down. And where are they going? And here are the oros themselves. He says on the first page, he goes to the chub. He has all of the Chochmah, Bina, and Das, all of these oros that we're seeing falling down. And then he goes the Kachba, the Chagat, the Ma'u, Ben, the Chub, the Nai, the Bina, the another very difficult translation. It's going to the top of the parts of Kol Chagat. And he says the male-female aspect of that parts of, which is something that we need to really get into or to explore more. The chub, the nai, and it's going to the top part of the nai of that part. The bina dezah, and ultimately they're all coming from the bina dezah, and that's the idea. He says, and they come down, and they come down, they come down, and we came over to more ideas. He says you have 3 different types of hair that fall down from Eric Anpin. It's introduced at this point, and he says this is what they look. This is what it looks like. He says, "Vayichidim, the Tzal Mechanaz Shehem Bechinas Yud Shem Uzma." So he said the Yechidim, which is the highest level of light, is also flowing down as a makif. These 5. We're all dealing with makifim here, anyways. Shehem Mispar Talis. It comes to the bottom of the Talis. So this is our Talis here. Looking at it is 10 different mas. So he says, and maybe that's the ma he's talking about, otherwise a ben and ma. Let's see, Kabbalah Hamshaka Aras at Tzitzit Shabizman Beis and Mikdash, and he gives us pictures of it. He said, V'yotzim ha'oros im atzitzio Shabizman azeh, this is a gematria of tzitzis over here. And then he said, V'ikar hamochim shehem dalad shemas the chuv the ima, yakavein osam mishulavos, misparim, Shanos, and it comes to that. There was a little board on that. It comes to this gematria over here, which is the Chaya Melech Zer Anpin. At any rate, these are those lights coming down there. And V'yordim, they go down further. V'shlish Elyon, the Teferes Dezah, they go to that place. And then after that, Visharcha Taf Reish Oros Yekavan Lahamshichem, the Yisod is there Anpin and Visham Lahamshichem Lonuk. So all of these different Oros and all of the pictures that he's showing us are all the flow that we're talking about going to the Nook. And then he comes Gam Yekavan Shederek Evarim Yisod the Ima Hu Shem Kona, so that everything goes through that. And then they pick up these Levushim, the Vush or the Mochim Yisod that are coming out of there. And then he says, then there's a direction here. He says, you take the two tzitzis and you throw them over your shoulder. So all of this kavana that we saw here was the showing us the lights and where they're coming from. And then finally the action itself comes at the end of that thought process, or that process of looking at the flow. And you take the two tzitzis on the right side and you throw them over your shoulder. And he says, okay, and that's it. That is our shir today. For the Rashash on Tzitzit.